This Epi's the worst deal, but the best option? Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I know that's a really strange paradox, and I'll explain my reasonings here in a minute, but let's go ahead and see which of the new Epiphones we're reviewing today. It's the Les Paul Custom by popular demand. So first things first, you guys are going to notice we have a full gloss finish on this one. So if you didn't like the look of the VOS treatments that we saw on the SG Custom or the 59, this one might be a little bit more to your liking. And it's one of the reasons I decided to purchase one of these on my own to do the full review and documentation, because yes, you do have the option if you want it. But this is part of Epiphone's new Inspired by Gibson Custom Shop lineup. So if you're not familiar or you haven't seen those other two videos, basically, they took the high-end Gibson custom shops and made a slightly more affordable version made in China under the Epiphone branding. They gave them the really nice custom shop style pickups, and they introduced the Gibson open book headstock style shape on the Epiphone lineup. But in using higher-end electronics, it made these things very expensive. These are great for somebody who's like gigging out on stage and you don't want to take a really expensive custom shop, or you want something close to the real deal but don't necessarily have custom shop pricing. If you were going to buy a stock regular Epiphone and upgrade it anyways, it might just be cheaper to get one of these from a dealer. So let's talk pricing. The Les Paul Custom is $1,299. Now to illustrate my point, there is still the regular Epiphone with the Kalamazoo style headstock for $799. It's going to have the Epiphone Pro Buckers, the Epi-Lite soft case, and a 60s style neck. Whereas if we go to our new one here, it's advertised as a 50s rounded neck. Feels closer to like a medium profile. It's definitely not huge by any means, but not super thin either. These ones have a little bit better wood construction. Not that you can see it because they're only offered in black and white at this particular point in time, but they advertise it's a one-piece neck, so you don't have any scarf joints making up your neck. It's a real ebony fretboard, which is cool, and you get true mother-of-pearl block inlays, just like the custom shop. That's something new that Epiphone's doing with this series that I love. We already talked about the whole open book headstock versus the Kalamazoo. Both versions have the upgraded pots, but this one has the Mallory capacitors, if that means anything to you. But most importantly, we've got Gibson USA electronics in here. However, it's the 490R 498T set. And that's why I'm saying, out of all the new Epiphones, this is the worst deal, but maybe the best choice. Because look, you can buy a set of those for about $229 on Gibson's website. Whereas all the other ones, even though they're the same price, they got custombuckers, which are like $500 brand new. So why the difference here? Well, the Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul Custom, the base level model actually comes with that pickup set. This is not a specific year reissue like a 68 reissue custom or a 57 reissue. So I think that's why they went for this pickup choice. But in the future, I would love to see a 50s influenced one. Like, oh man, can you imagine if they did an Alnico 5 staple pickup and P90 version? That'd be cool. Or just do the mahogany top with custom buckers, or do a 70s influenced one with a maple neck and volute and throw the Super 74 custom shop pickups in it. That would be awesome. So comparing this to that 59, they're the same price, but one has vastly superior pickups. Now you might say, hey Trogly, this one has a real ebony fretboard versus that one. You've got all the bindings, some other fancy ornamentations on the headstock. And at first I was like, yeah, okay, maybe that is a concession. But then I looked at the 355, which arguably has even more fancy attributes to it. As the body's bigger, it comes with the custom buckers and also has the binding. So I feel like these ones should have been like $200 cheaper. But yet, at the same time, out of the three that we've reviewed so far, cosmetically, this one does it. It looks so good, very close. Like, you have to have the really trained eye to see, like, yeah, your knobs aren't the exact style. The pickup rings aren't perfect Gibson style either. They're still metric, but it doesn't look as out of place on this. And we've got something that they're calling an ebony fretboard, so we don't have to deal with the whole Indian laurel if you don't like that. This is a really sweet guitar. The only thing that screams, hey, I'm an Epiphone at this point in time, is how the headstock binding runs underneath the nut. Gibson does not do that. And, well, obviously, the Epiphone logo. But it looks pretty good, everything else. They've got the custom block emblem the correct size. I mean, just for fun, here it is side by side with a real 2005 Gibson Les Paul Custom. It was the closest thing in my collection that I could compare it to today. It's got the exact same pickup set. It's not a year-specific reissue, so it's got the Nashville-style bridge. Both the ebony finish. This one's just a limited edition called the Tribal Les Paul Custom if you want to check it out on my show. But again, ebony fretboards, real mother-of-pearl block inlays. Their headstocks aren't looking too shabby here. We're still super glossy on all of them. You've got the binding. They did a fantastic job on these. But to further compare it to the Epiphone 799 version, that one came with the Epi Light case, but this one actually comes with a true hardshell case, so there's a little bit of a premium associated for that as well. I was really hoping we would see the burgundy interior to mimic this version of the custom shop case. However, they're probably going after the more modern one. So I would say they did an okay job at that. This one's a little bit more Dijon mustard in hue versus the goldenrod color, but hey, whatever. They did a really good job on the back though. But yet it still feels like your standard Chinese-made case. And we do have a case compartment that has a little bit of candy in the form of some Epiphone stickers and various manuals. But for historical preservation, here's the original price tag and the original box tag. So those are my initial conclusions as to why I think this is the worst value for your money out of all the new ones, but yet the best choice so far anyway. But let's go ahead, throw it on the workbench to take a deep dive into its parts and specs before we get to a tone sample. Inside our black Epi Custom, I can confirm 490R in the neck and a 498T in the bridge. Now here's a different way of looking at things. This set is different from all the other Inspired by Gibson custom guitars that just came out. So if you're planning on buying more than one, it's nice that we have some variety, but again, you can't overlook the value difference between this set and the custombuckers. If these could have been like $150 cheaper, that would have been awesome. But we do indeed have long neck tenon construction on this guitar. And if you look really closely, you can see where the maple top joins onto our mahogany body. And here's what that bridge pickup cavity looks like. We've got a QR code as well as our serial number and model. And you can see the quality of woods that they're using here. So is it the same as Gibson Custom Shop? No. It's something within the mahogany family of brands that they can legally advertise as mahogany. Same thing's true for the ebony board. It's not the same species as the Custom Shop gets, but it looks pretty good. But we have our regular 2 volumes, 2 tones, 1 for each pickup. And within the circuit, the bridge is 13.73 k ohms, the neck about half as much, 7.72, and the middle just for fun, 4.94. As far as the bridge and tailpiece go, it's really just stock standard Epiphone stuff. This is their Locktone series bridge. Reads Epiphone on the back, and it's got these little barbs in here that make it so once you press it down, it's not just gonna come off on you if you're changing strings. Like, you have to physically force it off. Exact same thing is true on our tailpiece. Same branding, same barbs, but a little bit easier to see. Now this one being a full gloss finish has pros and cons. Pro being, hey, it looks good, just like the real deal. Cons being, it shows finish scratches, polishing swirls, dust, fingerprints very prevalently. I wish there was a happy medium between that VOS and the full gloss. Like, give us the gloss with just a very, very lightly dulled down appearance. This one just feels like any Epiphone in the past if you've had a full gloss finish. It's a little bit thicker feeling than a nitro finish, being poly. And for fun, here's our pick guard. But this has a mahogany body with a maple top. I will say, the guitar actually feels pretty lightweight, but we've got the mahogany neck with the ebony fretboard. Now, I don't have fret nibs or anything on this, but the mother of pearl inlays, I'll say it in every review, I am so happy Epiphones get that now. Because that's always what drags down Epiphones, in my opinion, the pearloid that gets used everywhere. The real deal stuff looks so good to my eyes. But we have a 24 3/4 inch scale with a 12-inch fretboard radius, a nut measuring 1.68 inches. That increases to 2.09 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.88. And by the 10th, 1. I was kind of hoping we would get baseball bats on these, but I would describe it as full feeling, but not overbearing. Here's that neck profile at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. And now our headstock. Looking mighty fine up here with our multi-banded binding. Mother of pearl Epiphone logo with that full-size custom block. Now, it's still your usual import-style truss rod, but kind of like how the bridge is weird for being this way. They give this the Inspired by Gibson Custom Shop reissue-style truss rod cover. Technically, this is incorrect. It should be a smaller beveled one. But hey, we're splitting hairs at that point. This is technically kind of like a premium-like feature that they're trying to throw on here. I did find this interesting, though. Look at this screw. Everything's looking nice and shiny, right? But this one, stock from the factory, is like all dull and rusted over. Did it slip through the plating cracks, or does that just show how thin the plating actually is? It does kind of stick out like a sore thumb once you notice it though. But now we can move on to the backside. As far as the routes, looks about standard from what we've seen. Not the best, but should function, including your solder work. It's just not the prettiest, kind of looks like a rat's nest in here. You can see your three-way toggle switch is actually on a quick connect, but everything is actually soldered to the pots by hand. Here's a quick look around the edges to see your double binding effect going on. And you have the strap buttons in your usual locations for a Les Paul. Up here and down there. And like the other ones, it's got the Epiphone Inspired by Gibson custom backplate. Right here we can see our neck heel, and run up along the back, nothing too exciting. But we've got the handcrafted in China sticker and our stock Grover tuners on this one. And here you can see the 2023 production serial number, as well as the Inspired by Gibson Custom Shop double diamond stamp. All said and done though, I thought this thing was pretty light. 8 pounds, 9.2 ounces. That's really light for a Les Paul. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds and compares to a Gibson. First impressions, I think it sounds good, not necessarily mind-blowing at this point. Now for fun, the Gibson, same amp, same settings, all that good stuff. So there we go, the new Epiphone Inspired by Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul Custom. What are my final thoughts on this one? You know, I was really thinking I was gonna love this and say, yeah, it's the best one of the series, but honestly, outside of that SG Custom, this has been the least inspiring of them to play. It still just feels like a regular mid-tier level Epiphone that they've just upgraded the pickups on. I just don't think it's that good of a deal. Now, if you could get a dealer to give you a nice little discount of, 10 to 20%, I think then they will start to make sense. I can see why a lot of people will like them. So if you bought one and you've enjoyed it, great. It's a fine guitar. I'm just saying, not as much value packed into this one as some of those other Epiphones. At this point in time, I'm thinking maybe the 355 is the best of the batch, so we'll have to review that one next. And I thought I was really going to like the glossy finish of this one, but it's part of the feel difference. If you know what the nitro feels like on a Gibson, it's a bit off-putting. That's the only thing, because visually, they do very similar things. But even playing this one with super dead strings, I vastly preferred the tones out of here, despite being the exact same pickups. That could just be luck at the draw. But in my opinion, the custom from the Epiphone lineup, it's good, but it wasn't necessarily mind-blowing. But I do want to compliment the neck profile. The more and more you hold it and play it, the larger it feels, but I'd still say it's kind of just a little bit on the bigger side of in-between. So that might be a nice bonus to you versus the Gibson one, because those tend to be a little bit on the slimmer side until you get into the reissues. So I hope this review helps you make an informed decision whether one of these is right for you or not. If you're interested in my demo unit, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. And if not, we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you like Les Paul Customs, you might want to learn about their brother from another division, the Les Paul Supreme. Click here.